Hey everyone, it's James from FunFoods, and today we're going to make some Among Us cookies. Now these are really cool, so keep watching and I'll show you step by step how to make these. In a medium to large bowl, we're going to start with 3 cups of flour. Next, we're going to add 1 teaspoon of baking powder and a dash of salt. Just whisk this up. That's good. Now we're going to just take this, set this aside, and work on the rest of our ingredients. Next, we're going to cube up 2 sticks of butter. I already have 1 done. This is just cold butter. You don't need to soften it first. I like to do that and then go right down the center. Like so. Now place our cubed butter into a large bowl. Add 1 cup of sugar. Now we're going to blend the sugar and the butter together until it's well combined. When your butter and sugar is creamed together, we're going to add 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract and 1 large egg. And mix. Now we're going to slowly add in our dry ingredients to our wet ingredients, do about half at a time, and just incorporate it. And add the rest. After mixing it for a few minutes, you should be able to pull it together and press it, and it should stay together like that. That's how you know it's done. And what we're going to do now is we're going to pour our dough onto some plastic wrap and wrap it up so we can press it down. Only put about half the dough onto the plastic wrap. We're essentially kneading it inside of this wrap just to make sure it all comes together. You'll see the dough is quite flaky and falls apart. It just needs to be kneaded. So we just need to knead it. You can also put it in the refrigerator for a little bit. It makes it easier for us to knead it. But I'm going to do it just like this for now. For the dough that's in the bowl, we're going to color it red. So I just have some red food coloring. You can color any color you want. I just think red would be nice. And you'll see that the red is not fully incorporated, but that's okay. When we need it, it will. We're going to put it on plastic wrap just like we did the other one. And I am going to put this one in the refrigerator just for 5 or 10 minutes, and then we'll bring it out and knead it. Now we want to bring out our red dough, and we're going to knead this some more. And before I do that, I am going to put on some gloves because I am going to add some food coloring to this. And if you get the food coloring on your hand, it's not going to hurt you, but your hand will be that color for a while. But as you see, we can start kneading it a little bit here. It will help the color, even if I don't add any more food coloring at this stage. The color will mix in, but I'm going to add a little more coloring to make it a brighter color. So at this point, you can just kind of like make a little well here, put a little bit more food coloring in here. And red is a hard color to get to come out when you're adding it because it tends to turn pinkish color, a real light red. It might take a while, but when you get a nice consistent color, then you're ready. So what we're going to do now is start off with our red cookie dough, and what I'm going to do is use this picture as the design, and you can see it has the different Among Us characters, and they're all the same, it's just different colors. But I'm just using it as a visual guide as I put this together. The first thing we need to do is tear off a very small amount, probably even smaller than that, maybe like 1/8 of the whole bit of your dough, and working on a surface that is clean and you can work with. We just want to roll this out nice and thin into like a cylinder shape. So just roll it out. And what we're doing here is we're making the legs of the Among Us characters. And as you see, the legs are kind of rounded like that. So we got to make 2 of these. And we got to make them quite small because if we make them too big, it's going to take a huge cookie to put it all in. So we're going to do that, and it's okay if pieces break off. Just kind of roll it with your hands and kind of expand it as you roll. It may not look like much right now, but it will at the end. You'll see what's happening as we go on. Next, we're going to make the body of the Among Us character, and that is everything from above the legs up. So it's kind of like just like a rounded thing right here, but flat at the legs. I am ignoring the part where the face right now. We'll work on that later. So just take a good chunk of your red dough again, and I'm going to move these over slightly, the legs. And the finished product, they're going to be fairly close, about here or so, I would say. So we want to roll this out just like we did those, but not as low. Here, let's kind of form it together and make sure it's nice and packed in. And we'll roll this thing out. And we're going to take this and just put this on top of the legs. We've got to make sure the legs are perfectly where we want them, not too far apart, but not too close together. It might get squished. Put the top part on the legs and don't push down too hard, but just gently try to join them. And I'm going to eyeball it from the angle here. I think that's good. And to make the backpack, I just have some more of that red, and we're going to roll it out again. And this one's quite easy because it's kind of flat. So even though I'm rolling it out right here, I'm just doing that to expand it and get it long enough. And then once we do that, we can kind of flatten it down. And it doesn't take much red for this. And just kind of flatten it out. And then we're going to stick it on the side. It might still be a little too big. I'm going to cut it a little bit, about 1/3 of it off. And just take that, stick it on the side. And what I'm going to do is trim it up a little bit now. So I'm just going to cut off that. I might trim it up all the way to here because I don't like that. Come back to the one that's clear colored. We're going to take a little bit of a handful of one. And again, roll it out nice and thin. And come back to our Among Us character thing, and you'll see it's upside down right now, but right between where the 2 legs are, we're going to add this, and you don't have to, just carefully add it in between. Try not to mess it up too much. This is going to be the space between the 2 legs, and it's going to make sure it keeps that space. Just like so. And then also add on the side there between the legs and where the backpack is. Do that. Just to show you where we're at this stage, how I look at it and kind of see what it looks like, I'm going to show you right now. In between the legs there and then there's the backpack, and you kind of see the shape of the Among Us character. So at this point, I just added some black food coloring to some of my red dough here, and you can see it's a little darker. I wanted something to differentiate the goggles that the Among Us characters wear, so that way, and I couldn't use white because this is going to go around it. So what we did was I just did that. We're going to roll this out just like we did the other ones. I think that's good like that. So we have that, but before we put that on there, we do have to cut it out from our Among Us character. And I don't want to just cut it out yet because I got to make sure that I don't mess up the shape. So let's move this whole thing aside for right now. Come back to our regular one that's not colored, our regular dough. Roll this out. You don't want it to be too thin, but fairly thin. Okay, so we're gonna take our Among Us character, put it on there like so. And I'm gonna fold this end up into it. That's gonna cover that. And remember, we're gonna cut out the mask on this side. So let's do that. And we can kind of roll it a little bit onto its side. Now, while it's on the side, I know this is very tricky, it can be. We're gonna cut out where the goggles are gonna go. This is all gonna be done by hand and by eye. And we're not gonna cut too deep, only go about halfway. And we're gonna just gently dig that out. Remember, try to keep that shape. All right, so now we're gonna bring in our rolled up goggles, basically, and put it in there. Again, if it's too big, don't force it. Just press it in there a little bit. Okay, so now what we gotta do is just roll the rest of this up and hope for the best. So gently roll this and roll it. And when it gets back to where everything's covered, we can cut off the excess. Now we'll see if it looks like the Among Us characters or not. You can cut it, but if you do, it might press it down. So you might want to take a string like I'm going to do and cut it that way. Just pull the string. And we're just going to cut these about 1/4 inch in thickness and lay them out. Now put your cookies in the oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for about 8 to 10 minutes. When they come out of the oven, let them cool completely. And now it's time for the taste test. We're gonna try one of our Among Us sugar cookies. It's good. Just like any other sugar cookie, but they look like Among Us characters. Well, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed watching me make these Among Us cookies. It is a lot of fun making these. It is some hard work, but you can do it. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button. Also, hit that big red subscribe button. If you're not already subscribed, you get new videos all the time. Check out this video right here. And until then, I'll see you next time. We're going to pour this out into a... Now we're going to pour dough out into... only put about half the dough on the plastic wrap. And you'll see it's not... The red isn't... as a design, as a guide. Let's start over. Okay, so now just...